Hey guys, how you doing? It's Jimmy, and this is something we try to do once a week. Usually, it comes out on Friday. It's called From the Bunker, and this is where I sit here in my basement studio with the new tie dye up behind me. Nothing quite as cool as like State Fair tie dye. That really brings the room together. But I like to talk to somebody who I think is doing cool stuff artistically, and this is somebody I followed for about the past decade now. Ladies and gentlemen, Austin Lucas. How you doing, man?
Man, pretty good. Pretty good. Just, hanging tough. I'm in Germany right now. I've been pandemicking overseas, and yeah, it's been a very, very interesting experience. I imagine that it's been an interesting experience for everybody, no matter where they've been. And it's been no different from myself, I have to say.
Yeah, you are a guy who bops around the world quite a bit, aren't you? Not just with playing your music, but you seem to be, I follow you on social media, and here you are in the Czech Republic, and here you are in Germany, and all these different places. Is that something that you think you'd be doing even without the music career? Is travel important to you?
Yeah, I mean, travel has always been important to me. I think that one of the reasons why I really worked on my music career is because of my wanderlust. It seemed like a very easy vehicle to access different cultures and to meet new people and go to different places all over, the United States at first, and then all over the world eventually. Um, I think that, the thing that is amazing about the arts is that when you go to someplace new, um, if whoever it is that you meet, if they are somebody who is doing your concert or putting you up or coming to your show, is going to be somebody that you share some amount of interest with, like, and so it provides like this kind of very beautiful uh, bridge or entry point into friendship. And yeah, so I realized that very early on when I was traveling around, that making music was a good way to sort of have some doors kicked in, you know what I mean? And also uh, you get to the great thing about it is that you also have your travel paid for a lot of the time, or at least a good amount of it. Which, if you grew up poor and didn't have a lot of money to travel, it's great to find some way to supplement your wanderlust, and that's exactly what I did.
Absolutely. You spoke about your music career. Let's try and shed some light on that for folks who haven't heard you. I think, if we had to do big, broad boxes to put your music in, I think you'd call what you do, roots music. It's it's all the American musics, rock and roll and blues and country and all kind of jammed in there. And you come from a punk background, which is why I think when I first saw you, I saw you open up for, I don't know if it was Two Cow or Glossary or, one of those bands like that. And I'd never heard of you before. And I think after the show was done, we talked and you mentioned you were from Indiana. We're the same age almost, exactly, I would think. And I thought, oh, I know this guy. I know a billion of this guy. And I like this guy because I'm the same guy.
Thanks for going ahead and relegating me to being one in a billion.
No, what I'm saying is these are the people that I grew up with.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
You're 18, you join a metal band or a punk band, you play, the Al Roosevelt in Columbus and over in Fort Wayne. And I knew these guys. Now, from, a few years of that, you get away from that, and everybody's paths diverge into a million different scenarios, some good, some bad. And I saw a lot of them, music careers end and lives end. Your music career has changed, and really it's expanded into this giant thing. What kind of made you go more toward the roots music as opposed to coming up, like in a punk scene?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that um, I always really liked roots music a lot. Certain types of roots music. I grew up around roots music with my dad. I come from a family of musicians, and I think that as I got older, I realized that um, I wanted to be able to sing, and be able to sing at the aptitude level that I was capable of, and that I probably wouldn't have much success uh, playing or singing in these kinds of bands. And I got sort of to the point where I really just wanted to be able to tell stories, and I wanted to sing songs, and I wanted to be able to do that in a way that was kind of direct, and not as much distorted guitar and screaming and stuff like that. And I just sort of kind of slipped and fell in it, to be honest with you. Like, I had an acoustic guitar. My throat was blown out from screaming in metal and hardcore bands, and I just wanted to get my voice back that I used to have when I was younger. And I just started writing songs on acoustic guitar, and the next thing I knew, that was how I made my living. It's a very organic, like, sort of accidental thing. I literally slipped and fell in my career.
And speaking of your voice, you do have one of the most unique voices that I've heard. There's no mistaking you for anybody else. I think the first time that I heard "Go West," which was from a record, what, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, something like that.
Yep.
I thought, oh, like, this guy, what is he, Irish? It's almost like an accent there. And then when I saw you and found out you're from Indiana, I go, okay, that's kind of weird. But you have a voice and a cadence that I don't think anybody else picks up on. It's very much your own, as is everything that you do. You've got all these records out. Your newest record, Immortal Americans, I noticed I started to see more press come through about it. There seemed to be more of an excitement level for that record as you grow your audience. How big of a jump was that album for you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that. I think that it was definitely a step up from my previous record, Between the Moon and the Midwest. But I think that it's really, really hard to, like, gauge that metric. I honestly, I think that you know uh, the really important aspect of that record was the fact that fans really liked it. I don't think that it necessarily got more press than any of my other albums, to be honest with
And
you.
and perhaps
If
maybe
anything, it
I was
got
just paying attention more.
maybe, yeah. But I do think that you know people. I think that people realized that I had something to say, and that I had been through a lot, and it just, people turned out to be interested in hearing what it was that I had to say. And I think that um, there are several factors of that.
And I do want
And
to talk. I do want to talk about this because that's the other thing that I've watched as I follow you on social media. You're pretty open about a lot of your life, where some artists aren't. You don't really pull back from that. You kind of see who you are as an entire person, and you have made a massive transformation, not only physically, but it seems like emotionally or spiritually, you're kind of a different cat these past couple years. Me looking on the outside, at least that's how it seems.
I mean, it feels
Is
like
there?
it on the inside too. So, I'd say that your judgment is, quite correct. I just don't, um, you know, I think that I had, from a very, very early, there was a long time ago where I really, really made a deliberate decision to try to be different than what I was. And I went on, this journey to try to, better myself. And I mean, I'm not fully formed. I don't think anybody ever is fully formed, but, I just put a lot of work in. Like, I listened to people's criticism. People wanted to tell me ways that I'd wronged them, and I listened to them rather than be defensive about it. And like, when I realized the ways that I was doing wrong by myself, how I was harming myself, I'd listen to my body, and what I mean, like, and I changed those actions. And I went to therapy, and I take psych meds, and I do all sorts of stuff just so I can make sure. Part of my journey is fitness. Like, I'm very, very, like, mindful of my fitness regime. And like, one of my big things is coaching. Like, in kickboxing. And part of that is giving back to you know the community and giving back some of the confidence and the clarity that I was able to get like through that as a vehicle anyway. So, I don't know, man. I just woke up one day and I decided to take the first step, like after a series of days wishing that I would take the first step. And next thing I knew, I got myself someplace,
And
you know?
those things for people who don't know, you lost a tremendous amount of weight through exercise, and you're kickboxing, and I see you doing MMA stuff, and you look somewhat terrifying. If I'm gonna be honest, you look like a badass. And even though you can clearly tell you're the sweetest guy, but did you also quit drinking, that kind of thing?
Yeah, for an extended period of time, I quit drinking. I quit using all drugs. Um, the first thing that I did was I quit smoking, and that was about 6 years ago. And that's when my journey began. And within a year, I quit drinking after that. Like less, really, like probably about like 5 months or something like that, 6 months. Um, and yeah, I mean, I got myself completely cleaned up, and it wasn't until like last year I found myself being really, a lot happier and stuff like that. And I had done all this work that I started letting myself have a couple beers here and there, and that's been okay. So as
That's
long as you know, I realized that I didn't quit drinking because I was a bad alcoholic. I quit drinking because it was making me depressed. It was messing up a lot of aspects of my life. It wasn't allowing me to grow and move forward, and so it was time to do something about that. So I did.
No, I 100% get that, man. Uh, you had put out a live record that you did in your hometown of Bloomington not too long ago, and it looks like you get another live record on the horizon. Uh, Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean that record is it's not exactly a live record. I've recorded it via live stream,
Okay,
so it's
it's
like
called
it,
Live from the Hot Zone.
alive in the hot zone is
Live
what
in the
it's
Hot
called.
Zone. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I recorded it in March, uh, like right as it was really COVID was really accelerating and the world was locked down. You know, so hence the name. Uh, it's got new songs, it's got covers, it's got a couple of old songs on it. You know, and I did it all via live stream when I recorded it. So it's a studio recording. It's just not um, you know
Gotcha.
full band record. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, where can people find that? Is it
Well,
austinlucas.com?
yep, austinlucas.com is a good place to find it. Austin Lucas Music on Facebook and also on Instagram, Austin Lucas IND on Twitter. The pre-orders up on my on my website, austinlucas.com. And of course, the record's not out yet. It's not coming out until October, but you can get copies. You can pre-order anyway, I should say now.
And pre-order is always big for any artist at any level, but I'm sure at the level where you're at, the pre-order is a pretty big thing, and I hope people go over there and do that. I'm going to go do that. I really appreciate you taking some time out to talk to us today. I've been a fan of yours for years, not only, like I said, the music, but just to watch you as a person, this growth. It's inspirational, dude, for real.
Well, thank you much. I appreciate that. And, I'm sorry that I look terrifying. It's one of the reasons why I try to wear a lot of pink when I'm, practicing my martial art. Try to offset that. I'm definitely not about that hyper masculinity,
I
violent tough guy life at all.
I
So.
get it. Let's go out with the song, a live track. It is "Immortal Americans" from Austin Lucas. Thank you, dude.
We were never fans of stock car races. Although mesmerized by the roaring of those cars, out in the dark the sound would echo off our skin as we took to a rooftop with those engines on the wind. Where we sang the songs of our fathers, sha-la-la, ooh-la-la-la, and all the prayers of our mothers, dutiful daughters, dutiful sons, sha-la-la goes the rattle and hum from the hearth of a Midwestern home. Sha-la-la, it's the sound of immortal Americans. When children turn the radio on, fists in the air, praising rock and roll gods. From the soil they are formed, born to grow corn and cut stone. They trade off the verses and they sing twin in the choruses. Babes of the Bible Belt, maybe low-hanging fruit in the forest, but they sang the songs of their fathers. Sha-la-la, ooh-la-la-la, and all the prayers of their mothers, dutiful daughters, dutiful sons. Sha-la-la goes the rattle and hum from the hearth of a Midwestern home. Sha-la-la, it's the sound of immortal America. My friends, turn the radio off. Those holy hymns were no longer ours. Though we sang the songs of our fathers, sha-la-la, ooh-la-la-la, and all the prayers of our mothers, dutiful daughters, dutiful sons. Sha-la-la goes the rattle and hum from the hearth of a Midwestern home. Sha-la-la, it's the sound of immortal America. Immortal America. Thank you, good night. We are Austin Lucas and the Bull Party.